Hi guys, I thought I might do a tutorial on the use of blending modes as a designer and illustrator. So there are many powerful things you can do with blending modes, and they're roughly divided up into different categories. Blending modes that darken, that lighten, create contrast, and other different sets of blending modes which are a little bit more tricky to understand. But we are designers, and we don't exactly have to know what's going on. We do need to know how they're going to affect our artwork. They are used for medicine and science and things like that. So blending modes are an extremely complex idea and area. But as I say, as designers and illustrators, as I always say, if it looks good, do it. So here we are. Here's our scenario. We are going to apply a blending mode to this object here. Now, at the moment, I'll set it to normal. Your typical state that when you copy and paste in, or you open up an image in Photoshop, everything's normal. So that if I put another layer on top of it, that will happen. And that's pretty much as you'd expect. So one layer hides the other layer, okay? But if we change the blending mode, things get interesting. So if I change the blending mode of the top layer to a different blending mode, different and interesting things happen. So you can see just by changing the blending mode, some very powerful and interesting things can happen. So I'm going to reset that to normal and put that to the side for the time being. We won't be needing that for the time being. So what I'd like to do is color this artwork up here. And what I'm going to do is set the blending mode to my artwork, to this thing called multiply, which I know is probably going to be perfect for this scenario. Okay, cool. So I'm now going to create a new layer, which is a completely blank, fresh layer, and pop it underneath. Okay, so just recapping, I've got an image layer here, and it might be artwork, perhaps. And I've set the blending mode, all good to go. What I'd like to do then is to lock it. Boom. So I really am not going to be using that layer. I'm now coming to this blank layer, which is completely blank. And that means I can paint on this layer here with freedom. And the blacks, even though they're on, or the image, even though it's on top, is still allowing the blacks to come through and the whites to sort of merge in with whatever the color might be. Okay, so this is the idea. So essentially, top layer, multiply, lock, and you're coloring on the layer beneath. Good as gold. Now, I can just go ahead and start painting now. Perfect, great, and everything's good. But I'm going outside of the line. So, you know, as I say, this is not necessarily this next step, but if you want to stay within the lines, just get your magic wand or your quick selection, either will work. And we're going to start making selections. But when you do, make sure that sample all layers is checked, because what that'll do is then it will pick up, or it will see the pixels, even though there's nothing on that layer. You can see it's picked that up, even though there's nothing at this point on that layer. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to very quickly pick up, you know, some of these areas. So I'm going to go and pick up maybe the big broad pieces, like so. Maybe a bit of this and that as I go along. Okay, just to get things started a little bit. And now I'm going to hit that with my color, and I've already got a color set up, you know, and I can start to paint that in. Beautiful. And it's staying within the lines, like so. Okay, so keep it all good. Now to keep this going, what I might do is I might just add a little bit of darkness to my edges, just to give it a bit of form. I like a soft brush, but you know, feel free to experiment. So I can now get some of this colouring in and start to make it look a bit more interesting. Opacity, changing the opacity as you go, just giving it some form. You know, feel free to use your own ideas with terms of brushes and things. Okay, so that's going on quite nicely. And again, I'm picking up from that top layer, picking up the bits that I want, like so, picking up these little areas from my art layer, coming back to my color layer and starting to put those colors in. So maybe I'll make that a little bit different color. Let's go with a different color. Make it full percentage, that's better. And I'm gonna, because it's all defined, I don't really need to worry about how big my brush is. Really good. Okay, looking good, guys. So this is the technique. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use my magic wand because they're all pretty well defined areas. I shouldn't have any trouble picking them up with my magic wand. All right. What I'd like to do is just carry on with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause this and go forward a little bit. So, okay, guys, I'm back. So I've just used that technique with the blending modes to color up my artwork. And obviously I could do a whole bunch more, but I just wanted to touch on the fundamentals and the, the particular tools to use. And that's blending modes today. So it's all about the blending modes. Having said that, now I just want to pop it to life a bit. Now, I'm going to apply some styles to this thing. I'm going to apply some layer styles to this thing. And I've made a whole video on layer styles, and make sure you check that out because a lot of this stuff in Photoshop tends to work in together, layer styles and blending modes and adjustment layers, all those sort of things sort of connect. And so knowing what one thing is, you'll be able to get the most out of it. And you'll be able to sort of mix and match where needed. So, enough said. So I'm going to apply some layer styles to my color layer. So I want to sort of pop it a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I might just put my colored background on because, you know, maybe I need that background. What I'm going to do is apply a layer style to this figure. So double clicking. And I'm going to put on, maybe I'll have a little tiny drop shadow in that. Looks all right. That looks not too bad. I could play with that a little bit, but essentially that's good. Maybe I want a bit of a glow effect, see what that looks like. So I'm going to have an outer glow. Not too sure about that one. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think I will go with that actually. I kind of like that. But really, predominantly in here, I want to put a pattern overlay. Now, we've made patterns a few times before, but I'm just going to say okay to that. Essentially, you want to bring in an image into the program, and while that is visible on screen, whatever is visible on screen, we need to edit and we need to define as a pattern. Great, that's my new pattern there, right, good. So I hopefully be able to use that now on my figure. So double clicking back in, we've got our style set up, but there's one more thing to do. I'm going to put this pattern overlay over the top of that guy. There is one I made earlier, and there's another one. So that looks pretty cool, and I can move that around in there. With your pattern overlay, make sure that you play with your blending modes. Again, I think multiply is going to work best in most scenarios. For this particular kind of thing. So there, again, blending modes, always coming up in almost everything that you do. Knowing what a blending mode might give you, it's going to make your artwork great. So that's all good. I've got my logo to put on this thing now, so I'm just going to pop that up here and turn it on. And I've got an issue. I've got this white background. Now, yes, I could get my magic wand and delete that and so forth, but it might also be worth playing with a blending mode, seeing what I can do with that. And again, good old multiply is going to probably do what I need it to do. So I reckon I'm going to go with that. Multiply is one of the standby, absolute beautiful blending modes. Okay, so that can sit anywhere I like without me even deleting the background. That's blending modes. Blending modes are fantastic, and they come into so much of what you want to do in Photoshop. Change it up. If I put another layer on top of the whole thing, and I was to fill that full of a colour, maybe I'm going to change that to some completely random colour. Who knows what will happen? So I'm going to go pink. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to fill that full of that colour. Blending mode. Interesting things are happening. Interesting things are happening with blending modes. So you can see just experimenting and, you know, seeing what the various blending modes will do when combined with each other, you're going to get some really great effects. Okay, look, I hope that's been helpful to you guys. Blending modes, go get them. All right, I will see you in class.